Hello friends and a warm welcome to Sharat Chandra IAS Academy where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. Today we'll be continuing our geography series. In the last lecture we had finished talking about the Himalayan mountains as well as the eastern range of Himalayan mountains. In this topic we'll move on to the central highlands of India and the peninsular mountains starting with the Vindhyachal ranges. This is a map of India, 3D map of India. We'll be talking about this also. Here you can see the Aravali's passing through Rajasthan in an oblique fashion. And here you can see the Rift Valley of the Narmada, bounded by two mountain ranges, the Vindhyachal here, the southern end of Malwa Plateau, and the Satpura ranges here. Alright, the south of which the river Tapti goes towards the Arabian Sea. Alright, we'll also see how this region falls finally into the Amarkantak Plateau in the Chhattisgarh and then goes on to the Bay of Bengal finally. Many rivers from here such as Son River. Alright, so let's start all this one by one. So the first thing that we come across is which mountains are we covering and why are we leaving out some of the mountains from this lecture. So what I personally consider that we have already done the Himalayan mountain ranges from the north, as well as the Shivalik mountain ranges. We have also covered the eastern mountain ranges where we talked about the Mishmi, Miri, Abor, Dafla hills, Patkaibam and many of the Naga hills as well as the Lushai hills. Also covering the Garo, Khasi and Jaintia hills. We also covered the Mikir hills in the Assam. Alright, so that all we have covered. Now we are left with three geographic divisions of India. One is the Western Division where we read about the Aravali Mountains here. So in the Western ranges, we'll further cover when we take the lecture about them, the hills and ranges of Rajasthan as well as Gujarat. So these ranges will be covered by then. The Aravali ranges as well as the hills of Gujarat. And now these ones are in the eastern hills, well, whether it is the Rajmahal hills, the Ayodhya hills, the Badam Pahad, Garjat hills or the eastern Ghats in fact. Alright, when we move to the southern plateau, we'll be talking about all the mountains below the Satpura range, whether they are the Ajanta range, the Nirmal range, Chandor range or other let's say Sahyadri range or the Western Ghats. In this lecture, we'll be covering only the central portion of India near the Malwa Plateau and the Bundelkhand Plateau. Alright, so these are the hills we are going to cover. The Vindhyachal range, which divides further into the Kaimur range, the Maikal range. Alright, these are all part of the same range. Then there is Satpura range, Gawaligarh range. In this lecture, we'll focus mainly on the Vindhyan range. In next one, we'll cover the Satpura range. Alright, so let's move forward. Here you can see what we had read in the last lecture about the Vindhyan range. The Aravali ranges we have already discussed here in the last slide and we'll be taking a separate lecture for these. Alright, these are the oldest mountain system of the world, the Aravalis. And this all we have already discussed, the Himalayan ranges and the eastern ranges here, northeastern ranges. We'll further discuss the eastern ranges later on, these all hills further than the Bundelkhand Plateau. So in this lecture, we'll be dealing mainly with the central plateau and central hills here. Alright, so let's move on with the Vindhyan range. As you can see, they are majorly falling in the state of Madhya Pradesh here. It's not clearly visible, just let me remove these marks. Alright, so you can see the boundary of Rajasthan here. This is the southern east boundary of Rajasthan and the Vindhyan Plateau has some incursion in this region where the Rajasthan meets the Gujarat as well as the Madhya Pradesh. So it starts from here and goes towards the east across the state of Madhya Pradesh, making the southern ridge of the plateau of Malwa. There are multiple further plateaus here, the plateau of Bundelkhand as well as plateau of Riva Panna. So we'll be reading about all that. Right now what you must remember is that Vindhyan range is associated directly with the Kaimur range as well as the Mahadev range, Maikal range. The high portion of Vindhyas is not the Amarkantak. Amarkantak is more associated with the Satpura range and it's a part of that. Previous question has come on Amarkantak. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the Vindhyachal mountain range directly. So Vindhyan range is a complex. What do we mean with complex? Complex mean that its structure is not very simple. When we talk about the hills or mountains, we assume that they are having a base, they are having a conical structure sort of elevation, but Vindhyas is not like this. Vindhya is a very complex structure because it is also discontinuous. Alright, it's not a single range of multiple mountains. It is discontinuous, which means that they are located on various different longitudes as well as latitudes. So it's a discontinuous change of mountain ridges, hill ranges, highlands and plateau escarpments in west central India. So everything is included in it. Today, in the present, that means the term principally refers to the escarpment and its hilly extensions that runs north of and roughly parallel to the Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh. It is also conclusively said that Narmada is a part of the Vindhyachal system because of the rift valley created. The same valley that created the Narmada here also created the uplift of the Vindhyachal here. So they are block mountains. Please remember this fact as well, because when we read about the Himalayas, we concluded they are fold mountains. They are also the youngest system of mountains which were formed when the Indian plate struck the Eurasian plate. So they were fold mountains, but Vindhyachal are not fold mountains, they are block mountains. Alright. So depending on the definition, the range extends up to Gujarat in the west, Uttar Pradesh in Bihar in the north and Chhattisgarh in the east. The mountains form the southern ridge of the Malwa Plateau. So please remember this major fact here. And then divide into two branches, the Kaimur range in the north, and it runs north of the Son river into western Bihar state. This Son river does not fall into the Arabian Sea. Please remember that it becomes a part of the Ganga system and falls ultimately into the Bay of Bengal. And the southern branch running between the upper reaches of the Son and Narmada river. Narmada river on the other hand falls into the Arabian Sea to meet the Satpura range in the Maikal range or Amarkantak plateau. So Satpura means 7 mountains. It is southern to the Vindhyachal range, and then there is Maikal range also. Amarkantak is also there to the east of the Satpura range. So it's one of the highest points there. Now you can see multiple mountains and a very good depiction of what's there. So here you see the Aravalli ranges. Just a second, I'll change the pen color. Alright, so here you see the Aravalli ranges, which we do not have any connection in this lecture, but you can see where Rajasthan has some sort of the Vindhyachal mountain ranges starting from this portion. Alright, then there is Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, again continuing the Vindhyan range and further coming to the east. Coming to the east, they have multiple escarpments. Going further towards the east, mainly we see the division or discontinuity here, and then the Kaimur ranges. So you can assume that they are the northern branching of the Vindhyan hills. And when we go towards the south, we see the Maikal ranges here. The highest point of these ranges is Dhupgarh. Alright, and when we go further into the state of the Chhattisgarh, then we see the Amarkantak hills here. So question has been come on Amarkantak hills. That's why this range is very, very important. You see the Satpura range here. They are rather higher than the Vindhyachal ranges and continue to a long distance. Alright. Only discontinuing here briefly. Okay. Now there are further ranges too down south. We'll be reading about them later on, such as the Ajanta ranges, Chandur ranges, Harishchandra, Balaghat, etc. So they are not a part of this lecture. Alright. Let's move down forward. Now what we must understand here from this mapping portion is how the Vindhyachal mountain unfolds. So we saw they start from here, this, and it is fairly well understood that we cannot determine whether a mountain starts from here or here. It is just a way of saying that if we go towards this direction, they started to exist from this point almost. Alright, so here we see the starting point of the Vindhyachal mountain ranges. This we know as the Malwa Plateau or Malwa Ka Pathar. And the southern ridge of this plateau is created by the Vindhyachal ranges like this. Alright, and they further go till here and even here towards the north. So they touch many states, whether it is a Madhya Pradesh, whether it is a Chhattisgarh, whether it is Gujarat, southern parts of Uttar Pradesh also, and Bihar. Alright, so all these states are touched by Vindhyachal mountain somewhere, but 80% to 90% of the Vindhyachal do exist only and exclusively in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Alright, now coming to the next portion. These are the various plateaus of this region. The main plateau that we are dealing with is the Malwa plateau here. The Malwa is a historical region actually that existed between the Aravalli hills, between the plateau of Gujarat, Kathiawad, etc., this region, and up of the Vindhyachal mountain ranges. So this was a plain area, and this is a plain area, the plateau, and it has been very, very historically active and the battleground for multiple dynasties. Alright, this again, when we move to the east of the Malwa plateau, we face the Bundelkhand plateau. This is also one main plateau, and this region is also presently known as the Bundelkhand. This is a region where the UP and Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh have a composite culture of sort. This, when we come down towards the Malwa plateau again, we see the Baghelkhand plateau. It's also majorly in the Madhya Pradesh, but also falling in states of Chhattisgarh and somewhat in Bihar. Then we see the Chota Nagpur plateau again. And there's a discontinuity then till the Shillong plateau. Alright, in the Deccan plateau, we see multiple states in this plateau region. The Karnataka plateau and Telangana plateau, etc. This side we see the Western Ghats or the Sahyadri mountains, and this side we see the Eastern Ghats. Last year question also came on the Eastern Ghats as well as the Amarkantak ranges here. Alright, so this you see that in the next map towards the right side, you see that Amarkantak is the actual origin point of Narmada. And from Amarkantak flow two rivers, the Son river as well as the Narmada river. Now while the Narmada river travels towards the west to drain into the Arabian Ocean, the other rivers such as Son go in the north direction and then finally to the east to travel and mix with Ganga, finally falling into the Bay of Bengal. So you can now understand the importance of the Amarkantak in 3D, let's say, that it must be a very high region from where the rivers emerge, and one river goes towards this direction while the other river goes towards this direction, completely falling into contrasting directions. Just a second. So now let's talk about the formation of the Vindhyachal mountains. Now they are considered to be block mountains, and this is the single most important fact that you need to remember, that they are not fold mountains, just like the Himalayas. Alright, so this means they were primarily formed due to movement of tectonic plates and the resulting faults and block tilting within the Earth's crust. So they are not a direct formation of the tectonic movement because of the collision of Indian and Eurasian plates, not a direct, let's say, consequence. So this uplift can be attributed to the collision. This was the trigger. Alright, but not the, let's say, the main factor. So not strictly tectonic, but triggered by that. So they consist mainly of horizontally bedded sedimentary rocks. This is the second most important point that you have to remember about the Vindhyachal mountain ranges. So it suggests minimal folding and more of a vertical rise along the fault lines. Their escarpment along the Narmada Rift Valley is a characteristic feature of block mountains formed by tilting of a large crustal block. Okay, let's move forward. We see that the general direction of the Indian plate that came and let's say went into a collision into the Eurasian plate was not very straightforward. It was not like completely like this. Otherwise, it might have gone further into the China side. Alright, it was sort of a curved path. So this is why it was a glancing blow. Alright, it was not a head-on collision. And due to this glancing blow, there were multiple tectonic activities other than the folding. So we see the folding mountains such as Himalayas there. But the origin and rise of Vindhyachal mountain cannot be attributed to this activity. It could have been a trigger. Alright, that resulted in multiple vertical upliftment of multiple mountain ranges. One of Vindhyachal was that. But you must remember that these are block mountains, all in all. Okay, let's move forward. So they were formed due to the collision of the Indian plate with the Eurasian plate, let's say around 80 to 50 million years ago as a trigger. And further, the type of mountain is the block mountain. The collision caused uplift and folding of earth crust, pushing up existing rock formation and creating the Vindhyas as block mountains. Their formation was relatively continuous and gradual over million of years. While the Narmada Rift Valley, it was, let's say, formed along with or little bit later. But later, the glancing blow nature of the collision caused a section of Indian plate to pull apart, creating the Rift Valley along the line of weakness where Narmada River now flows. And the slope of this river is towards the Arabian Sea. Alright, let's talk about the etymology of the Vindhyachal mountain and the names. So according to the author of commentary in Amar Kosha, so these, why are we reading this? Because we need a historical context towards this understanding of the mountain as well. It can come directly into prelims. Well, it's not necessary that geography questions cannot be related with history or art and culture. So it is a commentary on Amar Kosh. According to the author of the commentary on Amar Kosh, the word Vindhyas derived from the Sanskrit word Vend. Vend means to obstruct. So according to another theory, the name Vindhya means hunter in Sanskrit and may refer to the tribal hunting gathering inhabiting the region. It's also known as the Vindhyachal or Vindhyachal. The suffix Achal means, Achal Hindi refers to a mountain. There's also a fort named Achalgarh in Rajasthan, the southern Rajasthan. The Greek geographer Ptolemy called the range Vindhyas or Oinindon. So this is also very important. A statement can be asked that which range was called as Oindion by the Ptolemy, describing it as a source of Nemodos, Narmada, and Nanagua, Tapti rivers. The Dakshin Pravartra or southern mountain mentioned in the Kaushitaki Upanishad is also identified with the Vindhyas. So if directly asked, let's say, just a second. So if directly asked and it comes into the question that which mountain range refers to the Dakshin Parvata in the Kaushitaki Upanishad, then you may get confused about it must be some mountain range from south. Let's say Western Ghats, one of the Western Ghat mountain ranges, Anaimudi, etc. Alright, but it is actually talking about the Vindhyachal ranges. So these facts are very important to know and understand. Alright, so let's come directly to the UPSC points now. Which points are very important for us? So it's primarily located to the north of the Narmada River. We already know this. The western end of Vindhya is located in the state of Gujarat. We know this. Near the state's water with Rajasthan. We have seen this, and Madhya Pradesh. At the eastern side of the Kathiawar Peninsula. Kathiawar Peninsula is the peninsula of Gujarat. We'll see this. A series of will connect the Vindhyachal extension to the Aravalli ranges near Champanir. The Vindhya ranges rise in the height of east of Chota Udaipur. The rise in the height east of Chota. All right. The principal Vindhya range forms the southern escarpment of central Indian upland. It runs roughly parallel to the Narmada River in the east-west direction and forming the southern wall of Malwa Plateau in Madhya Pradesh. So we are also very clear about this. All right. The eastern portion of Vindhyas comprise multiple chains as the range divided into branches east of Malwa Plateau. Into two parts it divides the Kaimur range and the Maikal range. The southern range of Vindhyas run between the upper reaches of the Son and Narmada River to meet the Satpura range in the Maikal hills near Amarkantak. A northern chain of the Vindhyas continue eastward as Bhandir Plateau. So we'll see this in the map next, and Kaimur range, which runs north of the Son river. This extended range runs through what was once Vindhya Pradesh, reaching up to the Kaimur district of Bihar. So here we can quickly see, it's not very important for us to see, but we'll still see that this is the Malwa Plateau, the region of Malwa. This is the Riva Panna Plateau. Alright, these are all written in Hindi if you cannot understand. I'll translate it to you. This is the plateau of Bundelkhand. This also is the plateau of Bundelkhand. This is the Baghelkhand plateau. We already know this. This is the valley of Narmada. And this is the Satpura Maikal, let's say mountainous region. Alright. So Vindhyachal mountain region divides into one this Kaimur range and second into a southern branch which meets the Satpura ranges at the Maikal Plateau region, Maikal Hills region. This here you can see the earlier part of the Gujarat. This is the western Kathiawar or Kathiawar Peninsula. This is the eastern Kathiawar Peninsula. So this whole region is basically known as the Kathiawar Peninsula, the southern region of Gujarat. Here you can see multiple ranges. The Vindhya ranges here, Satpura ranges here. Alright, and this is the Maikal ranges and Kaimur ranges this side in the Bhandir Plateau. Alright, so the highest point of the Vindhya ranges is known as the Sadbhavna Shikhar or Goodwill Peak, which lies 2467 feet above the sea level. It's also known as the Kalumar Peak or the Kalumbe Peak. The peak lies near this is Singrampur in the Damoh district. Damoh district is in Madhya Pradesh in the area known as Bhaner or the Panna Hills. So here we are talking about again Riva Panna Hills. Alright, let's go further down. The branches of the Vindhya range spanning across Bundelkhand is known as the Panna range. Another northern extension known as the Vindhyachal Hills run up to the Uttar Pradesh, stopping before the shores of Ganga at multiple places including Vindhyachal and Chunar near Varanasi. The Vindhyan tableland is a plateau that lies to the north of central part of the range. The Riva Panna plateaus are also collectively known as the Vindhya plateau. So we have already read about all these things, the Riva Panna plateau, whether it is the Bundelkhand plateau, whether it is the Bhander plateau, whether it is the Malwa plateau, all these ridges are, let's say, included into the Vindhyan ranges. Also, historical text included Amarkantak in the Vindhyan ranges, but today it is understood as a part of the Maikal range, which is considered as an extension of the Satpura ranges. Alright, so all these are connected. We have just divided them as per our understanding. Okay, here you can see the rootway of the Narmada river. It comes from, so it originates from the Amarkantak hills here. Here you cannot see, but there are Maikal ranges here this side, and the Satpura ranges here this side, the Mahadev ranges this side. Alright, the Satpura ranges this side, and the Vindhyachal ranges this side, furthering into branching as a Kaimur hills here. Alright, they also meet the Maikal hills here as a southern range, this sort of, and between this rich valley there is Narmada, flow of Narmada. From the Amarkantak only the Son river also originates, which goes towards the northern side. Here you can see all of this, the Mahadev ranges, Maikal ranges, Kaimur ranges, Vindhya ranges, Satpura ranges, and Dhupgarh, which is the one of the highest point of this state of the Satpura range. Alright, let's come further down. Several tributaries of Ganga Yamuna system originate from the Vindhyas. These include Chambal, Betwa, Dashan, Sunar, Ken, Thamsa, Kalisindh and Parvati. The northern slopes of the Vindhyas are drained by these rivers. Narmada and Son river drain the southern slope of the Vindhyas. But these rivers rise in the Maikal hills. Please remember this, they do not originate in the Vindhyas. The Narmada does not originate in the Vindhyas, it comes from the Amarkantak hill region, which is a part of the Maikal ranges and Satpura ranges. Alright, so this confusion, please do not bear this confusion in mind. It flows between the Vindhyas and Satpura ranges, but it does not originate from the Vindhyachal mountains. Alright. The Vindhyan supergroup is one of the largest thickest sedimentary successions in the world. The range is primarily made of sandstone and shale formations, which have been shaped over millions of years by the forces of wind and water. Natural erosion, you do not need to understand this very deeply. Alright, here's a 3D map of the region that we are talking about, which I brought up into the beginning of the lecture. Here you can see the Himalayan mountain ranges. Just a second, I'll change the pen color. Okay, here you can see the Pamir knot where I have encircled somewhere here. Towards the Afghanistan and Pakistan further, you see the Hindu Kush mountain ranges, these ranges. Alright, this is the Hindu Kush mountain ranges. Just a second. This is the Pamir knot or Pamir plateau. This is the Tibetan plateau here, which you can see uplifted. And these are the Himalayan region, which we already have divided into multiple hills. This is the Assam region. Here you can see the Kaimur hills. And in down below, it's not very visible here this side. You can see multiple hills such as Patkaibam, the Naga hills, the Lushai hills, the Miri, Dafla, Abor, Mishmi hills. All of those hills are there. These are the hills that we'll be talking later about. The western hills, let's say whether it is Aravali or the Gujarat Peninsula. And these eastern hills or eastern ghats, we'll be talking about them also. Alright, but in later lectures, these are the eastern ghats. This is pretty elevated map. It does not, these elevations do not exist in real. The elevations in real are very, let's say not such elevated. It is an exaggerated map. These are the southern or western ghats, sorry, the Sahyadri mountains. We are talking about this region. This is the Vindhyachal mountain range here you can see, and this is the Satpura mountain ranges. This is the Amarkantak and Maikal plateau side region from where the Narmada falls into the Arabian Sea, flowing between these parts. This is the Malwa plateau. This is the Bundelkhand plateau here. This is the Baghel plateau, Baghelkhand plateau and the Bhangar plateau. So multiple things are there. We'll be reading all about them. I hope Vindhyas are more clear to you now. You can see here also, this is the Vindhyan region here, not much elevated as you can see it. This is the Narmada river. This region are the Satpura mountain ranges. And this is the Tapti river. So we'll be talking about all this when we read the Satpura mountain ranges in the next lecture. So I hope this lecture was good enough for you to understand. Thank you very much for your presence. Have a good day, study well. This is Yatharth here signing off.